Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to lesson number 5 of your book 2. The lesson name is On Destroying Books. This is the title of the essay written by J.C. Squire, and the title itself shows that he is going to talk about how we can destroy books. So the title is somewhat odd, as it is about books and destroying. The use of word destroying with books, it seems a little bit odd, but why he has chosen this title, why he has used this phrase, it will become clear as we move on with the text, as we know the story he has given for us. So let's begin with the text. It says in the paper that over 2 million volumes have been presented to the troops by the public. Troops means army. So he says that in one of the papers, it was said, in one of the newspapers, he says that it was told, he read that over 2 million volumes have been presented to the troops. People, general public used to present books to the troops, to the army who are on the border, who are there for the safety of the public. And people, what do? They send them books, they present them books so that they can spend their time well over there when they are on the border. It would be interesting to inspect them. So he says that it would be interesting to know, to analyze, to identify, to explore what kind of books they are. Most of them, no doubt, are quite ordinary and suitable. He says that most of the books which have been presented to the troops, they are beyond doubt, they are quite ordinary and suitable. They are simple, general books, and they are suitable to be presented to them. But it was publicly stated that such as magazines 20 years old, guides to the Lake District, and back numbers of Whitaker's Almanac. So this is Whitaker's Almanac is actually a reference book which is published annually by the United Kingdom, and this is a reference book based on the current references of that particular year in which it is published. So he says that they are magazines. The newspaper told, the research report or the news report stated that they were mostly magazines which were 20 years old, and there were magazines and 20 years old, and there were guides to Lake District, and there were some guides that the tourist guides, we can say, and back numbers of Whitaker's Almanac. So back numbers means the very previous, the very old versions of Whitaker's Almanac, means the reference books which were quite old, which were many years old. So such kind of books were sent or presented to the army. In some cases, one imagines such indigestibles get into the parcels by accident. Sometimes it happens that we can imagine that in the parcels which were sent as gifts to those army soldiers, in those parcels, such kind of indigestibles, he calls them indigestible. Indigestible means that these are the books which are least liked by any readers. So he says that such indigestibles get into the parcels. They mistakenly sent those books. Sometimes it was said that they were mistakenly, such kind of books which are not very much liked by the troops. They were sent and they were mistakenly added into the parcels being gifted to the army soldiers. But it is likely that there are those who jump at the opportunity of getting rid of books they don't want. But then he says that sometimes they have accidentally entered into the parcels, but sometimes it seems, and it is very likely, it is possible that people like to get rid of these books, this kind of books, and they have when they are going to present something to the troops, they get an opportunity to get rid of these books by presenting these books to the soldiers. So sometimes they were accidentally put into the parcels, mistakenly put into the parcels, and sometimes they were deliberately put into the parcels so that they themselves, the general public, could themselves get rid of these books. Why have they kept them if they don't want them? So he says that why they kept them, why people can keep such books when they don't want, but most people, especially not bookish people, are very reluctant to throw away anything that looks like a book. So he says that usually people, what do? They don't want to get rid of books. They don't want to throw away the books. They are reluctant. They are hesitant to throw away the books, especially those people who are non-bookish, who haven't ever opened the books, because anything which looks like a book, they would keep it with them, that it might be helpful somehow. In the most illiterate houses that one knows, every worthless volume that is bought finds its way to a shelf and stays there. So it is a bit humorous and ironic too, that he says most illiterate houses, what do, as they don't have any know-how about the books. What do they do? They do that they anything which they buy as book, in fascination of a book. They buy books, they are fascinated by the books, they are fascinated by the thought that they are readers, so they buy the books. But those books, what do they do with them is that they keep those books to a shelf, and that book always stays there. So in this way they have a bulk of books by the end of the year, by the end of the week, whatever. In reality, it is not merely absurd to keep rubbish merely because it is printed. You say that actually it is a new, we can say, a new type of dimension the writer has pointed towards, and that is, he says that in reality, actually what happens, it is not merely absurd, it is useless to keep rubbish. Rubbish means any book which is useless, any printed material which is useless, which is of no use. It is very absurd to keep it because it is printed. It is positively a public duty to destroy it, and he points out that it is our to a very new dimension, that it is positively our duty as public. It is our duty to destroy any useless material, any printed useless material, and to keep that material is actually absurd, odd and awkward. Destruction not merely makes more room for new books, but saves one's ears the trouble of sorting out the rubbish or storing it. So in this line, the coming line, he gives a reason. He argues well. He gives a reason why should books be destroyed. He says when we destroy books, what is the benefit? The benefit is that we not merely makes more room for new books, that if we waste or we destroy the rubbish material, the useless printed material, one benefit is that we will have more room, we will have more space for new books, and the second benefit is that it will save the new generation, the coming generation, of the trouble of sorting out or we can say sorting out or choosing or selecting or whatever the rubbish, or sorting it out. So sorting out the rubbish, this trouble will not be caused to our coming generation if we are sorting out books and we are destroying them. Any useless material, we are destroying them, then it will be helpful for our coming generation, that they will not need to read the books, to sort it out and to destroy it. The second paragraph, but it is not always easy to destroy books. Now he comes, though it is good to destroy rubbish material or useless printed material, though it is good to destroy useless books, but it is not always easy to destroy books. He says that it is not easy to destroy books. They may not have as many lives as a cat. He says that their life, the life of the book, of a book, is so long, though it is not as long as the life of a cat, but they certainly die hard. But it is certain, it is quite sure that books die very hard. Books can be destroyed very hard. It is very difficult to destroy books. So and it is sometimes difficult to find a scaffold for them, and he says that sometimes it becomes difficult for us, that even if we have the will to destroy them, we don't have any platform, we don't have any way to destroy them. This difficulty once brought me almost within the shadow of the rope. He says, he refers to his own example. He quotes his own example and says that once the same difficulty of destroying books had almost brought him to the rope. That is, he felt as if he was brought to the gallows, and because he was trying to destroy books. Now he gives the complete story. He details the complete story of his destroying books. I was living in a small and, as Shakespeare would say, heaven-kissing flat in Chelsea. And books of inferior minor verse gradually accumulated there, until at last I was faced with alternative of either evicting the books or else leaving them in sole undisturbed tenancy and taking rooms elsewhere for myself. So he says that once he was living in Chelsea in a building which was heaven kissing flat, and he says that if Shakespeare would write, so figuratively he would call it heaven kissing flat, and it means that it was such an upper story of the flat, such a high rising building. So, and books of inferior, and he tells that in that flat, books of inferior minor verse, very simple, very low quality, we can say, verse, books of such kind of verse, they accumulated gradually, slowly and slowly they accumulated in that flat, until at last I was faced with alternative of either evicting the books. So there was only two solutions were left. One was that either he should get rid of those books, either those books should be made to evict the room, to vacate the room, to free the room, or else leaving them in or otherwise he himself should leave that room and have some apartment elsewhere on rent for himself. Now no one would have bought these books. Now no one, these books of such quality were a kind of books that people were not willing to buy those books, and the writer knew it. I therefore had to throw them away or wipe them off the map altogether. So he concluded that I have to throw them away, or I have to destroy them in a way that they are off the map altogether. They are just gone from the world altogether. But how? But question was how he should do it, how he can do it. There were scores of them. There were so many books. There were 70s and 700s, and means there were so many large in number. I had no kitchen study fire. I had no kitchen range. He didn't have any kitchen range for cooking. He didn't have any cooking range at his flat, and I could not toast them on the gas cooker, or he could not burn them in a gas cooker or consume them leaf by leaf in my small study fire. In a small study fire, he couldn't burn them leaf by leaf, for it is almost as hopeless to try to burn a book without opening it as to try to burn a piece of granite. So burning a book, it is never easy, because whenever we are going to burn a book, we have to open it and burn it leaf by leaf. So and this task is as hard as we are trying to burn a piece of granite. So in the end I determined, finally he determined himself, he planned to do to them what so many people do, and he decided to do what many people do. And with the kittens means that the kittens, tie them up and consign them to the river. So what was his final decision? That he will tie them up and he will hand over the books to the river. He will throw the books away into the river. I improvised a sack, so he managed to arrange a sack to compromise with a sack, and he stuffed the books into it, put it over my shoulder. He put that sack over his shoulder and went down the stairs into the darkness, and in the very darkness, in the darkness of the night, he went downstairs to throw them away into the river.